Back here in Memphis, the parallels are obvious. Beale Street downtown is often compared to Bourbon Street, with famous food, music, and a party scene. So it's worth a hard look to see what's being done here to keep everyone safe. ABC 24's Scott Mattis is live on Beale Street tonight. Scott, the goal is always to stay a few steps ahead of the bad guys if you can.
Yeah, that's right. That is the main objective. We're here on BB King and Beale Street, of course, in downtown Memphis. And we've been talking a lot about those steel barriers on Beale Street. They've been here for quite a few years. They're semi-permanent here on the street. They can move if need be. But one of the biggest points of contention that we've been talking about, and nationally they've been talking about it, is allegedly that driver down in New Orleans, he hopped one of the curbs and then started driving down the street. And as you can see from this light pole to this street sign, any SUV, car, or truck could drive through. Just one day after more than a dozen people were run down and killed on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, the talk of the town in Memphis is still how to protect people on Beale.
We're looking at opportunities to make it safer all the time, trying to make it safer, make sure that pedestrians come down here and feel safe when they come down.
Joe Calhoun, who's a member of both the Downtown Neighborhood Association and the Beale Street Merchants Association, says during mass gatherings, the city and police have Beale Street locked down and secure from driver traffic. However, he says, just like Bourbon Street, Beale does have one major vulnerability.
The sidewalks are always going to be a problem.
That's because, as you can see, even with the permanent and semi-permanent barriers erect, there is more than enough room for a vehicle to skip the roadblock and simply head for the sidewalk. Pretty much what you saw happen in New Orleans. Also,
we do have the exits open on each end so that deliveries can be made during the week.
And look at both ends of Rufus Thomas. There simply just aren't any fixed barriers. Calhoun adds he's been in contact with the city and says they are currently looking at their safety plan after the tragedy in New Orleans.
At this time, they're looking at what they can possibly do. They're studying what has happened in New Orleans and how they can circumvent that from happening.
All right, back down here live in downtown Memphis off Beale Street. Now, I talked to the Downtown Memphis Commission this afternoon into this evening, and they tell me as a result of what happened in New Orleans on New Year's Day, they will revisit their safety agenda and their safety plan, working with law enforcement. One of the very specific things they're going to be looking at is enhancing their safety plan as it pertains to these big gaps that are essentially on the sidewalk off of the street. So we'll be in contact with them throughout the days to see exactly what they decide to put in place. For now, live downtown off Beale, I'm Scott Mattis.